Yo, what's good? I'm JPatz, and today I'm going to be showing you how I make Griselda style beats without sampling, something I could hear like Benny the Butcher or even Conway rapping on. So I'm going to show you a preview of the beat, and let's just get right into it. First off, the biggest cheat code I'm going to share with you in order to get these melodies sounding authentic and right is resampling yourself. So what I mean by that is basically just making a so-called sample and then chopping it up as if it were an actual sample you were sampling from a record. With that being said, I started with this piano idea. I used the vintage upright main from Contact. It was a third-party plugin I purchased, and I was in the key of D sharp minor. And the theory behind that is I played a D sharp minor triad, so D sharp, F sharp, and A sharp, and then I just put some top notes on top of that just to give it some movement and make it sound better. So then I added these bass notes, D sharp, and then going down to A sharp, just to help with the turnaround at the end here. And this is what that sounds like. One key thing, specifically when you're playing piano melodies, is to play with a velocity, because even playing the simplest things, sometimes you could really bring out a mood or a vibe that you wouldn't get if you didn't have a certain velocity playing. That's why there's certain piano players that are better than others, because not only do they know how to play things, they also know the velocities to hit them at and timing and all of those good things. So with that being said, I wanted to play this piano and bring out a certain mood that was just like dark and grimy by playing it super low. So after you have the piano melody that you want, the next important thing is processing, because when you re-chop that and pitch it and all of that good stuff, you kind of want textures to be in there because it just adds to the mood of the sample. So instead of it just being a plain piano, I went and added some effects. So first I put on Redux and just kind of filtered out some high end. Then I added on Radiator from Sound Toys just to give it some grit. A little bit of Radiator to add more grit and some white noise. And some tape processing just to give it a more authentic feel. So without these sounds, this is what it sounds like. And then when you add the processing back on, it sounds a lot more old school and just a lot more grimy and dirty, with some good textures that are, again, like I said, very important, because when you resample, chop, and pitch this, you really want it to have those textures in there because it makes your sample that much more realistic. After that, I basically just turned the melody into audio and then chopped it up and created this pattern. And all I really did was filter out some low end and some frequencies I didn't want in there. Also, if you listen closely to the piano and the chops that I have, you can actually hear the textures in there, from the white noise to all the processing that I added on them. And like I was saying again and again, that just really helps make an authentic, more grimy sound. After that, I wanted to give it more tension, so I added in these string notes. And it's really just playing these half-step notes that really create a lot of tension. And then the A sharp. So this is how that sounds. And that just plays throughout the beat, as well as this other string I layered from CS80. That's how that sounds. Playing the same exact thing. And then really just to bring the whole melody and sample together, I just found some one-shots from Splice, which is kind of what I like doing once I have a main idea and then I want to just tie it together with other sounds. So first I got this vocal chop. As you can see, I filtered out a lot of the frequencies and just put a delay on it. And then I got this other vocal chop, put some reverb on it, and then also just filtered out a lot of the frequencies. I got this stab and loaded it into Serato. Again, filtered it a bunch and put some reverb on it. That really just helped add another texture in there. And then I just got this texture, again, just filtered out highs and lows and put some reverb on it. And that's just cool because it's like in the background and it adds a certain vibe or aesthetic to the beat. It's really nothing in particular, but I like having sounds like that in my beats. Then as for drums in a beat like this, is you want it to be really straightforward and just open so that the rapper has space and they can spit their bars and just ride the beat on it. So you really just want your drums to complement the melody and the rhythm of it. So first I started with this kick pattern. Firstly, what you'll notice is these ghost notes. I lowered the velocities a lot. And then they're not fully on beat. That just helps add a little bit of a groove. And then as for the snare, I just tightened it up a bit with this little fade out knob here. And that's just personal preference because generally I like tighter sounding drums. So this is how the snare sounds. And then same with the hats, I just tightened them up again with this little fade out knob. And I also put them a little behind the beat as well as some velocity sensitivity when I MIDI played them in. And then lastly for the drums, I have this open hat. What you will notice is that I took out the hi-hats when the open hat plays, and what that does is just adds a sense of realism to the drums, because when a drum is playing the drums, they're not playing an open hat and a closed hat at the same time, obviously. And then lastly, for the bass, people ask me where I get my bass sounds all the time, and you don't need any crazy sounds or anything. Oftentimes, I'll just find a one shot from whether it's Splice or a drum kit that I have, or even just filter down a sample and just extract the bass note and put it into a sampler and then tune it. And you could tune it really easily over here if you just add this tuner under utility from Ableton in there. Just go in there and add this tuner on there, and it's going to tell you what note the bass is playing. And then you could just come down to controls and transpose it till it hits C when you're playing C. Yeah, I just played a really simple bass note. I like to delay my basses over here a few milliseconds just behind the beat because I think it adds a good bounce for boom bap beats, and this is what that sounds like. Yeah, and usually for the bass on these beats, you don't need to do anything crazy. You just kind of want like a low, grimy note that really just hits hard and doesn't even have to play very often. So yeah, these beats, you just need to keep them open and simple, and you'll have a good vibe for artists to just spit bars on. So with all that being said, that's how I make grimy Griselda beats without sampling. For those of you that are here at this point in the video, I really appreciate you. As you know, I took a little bit of a hiatus just to figure things out and see what I want to do and what fulfills me. I do want to be more active on this channel. Let me know if you have any video recommendations. Another thing I've been thinking of doing is including either some sort of vlog style content or something where I'm giving some producers a spotlight and focusing a little bit on mental health and physical health, because that's something that's really important to me as a producer and something I've worked a lot on. Let me know how you guys feel about those ideas, because I'm really just trying to figure out what they'll look like. Tap in, comment below if you have any recommendations. Thanks again. I'm JPatz. Peace.